In this video, we're going to start to work with Adobe Illustrator and Map Publisher. And hopefully by this time, you have already figured out all of the subscriptions and you have the license running. To make sure that Map Publisher is working in Adobe Illustrator, you can go to Help and see if Map Publisher is actually listed here and if it's licensed. So make sure you do that first. The first thing we are going to do is create a new document. And there are lots of different ways to do that. Just say File and New. I'm going to come down here and create a common sized document. And once I have done that, what's going to happen is Illustrator and all of its functionality are going to pop up here, and things might look a little confusing to you. Depending on how the default is set up for Illustrator, it's hard for me to remember what that is. You're going to have a number of different tools available to you and toolbars and things like that. I'm going to try to do my best to give you a little intro to Illustrator and at the same time, get you working on the project. But there may very well be things I'm going to miss, and I am more than happy to make little videos or provide guidance on things that you need. So the first thing to note is that you should have this toolbar working over here. This is a pretty important toolbar, and if it doesn't show up for some reason, you can go to Window, and then from here you can go to Workspace, and you can make sure that your Essentials are clicked. That's what you want to have running there. See, if I turn this off, some of the Essentials turn off, but the toolbar is still there. No, I still have the Essentials on there. Okay, so let me tell you just a couple of really important things about the Essentials that are worth knowing. The first thing is, if you go down to this little hand button right here, you can move the art board around. And this, by the way, is the artboard, and you're likely going to want to change its size a little bit. To do that, you click on the artboard tool. And when you do that, you can make this larger or smaller, depending on where your data ends up loading into the artboard. That's something you're probably going to want to do. You can also zoom in and out by using the zoom tool, and you can see it's a plus sign. If you hit Alt, it will become a minus sign. So that's a really useful thing to know. You can see there are lots of other things here like pens and type tools and erasers. We'll talk about some of those things later on. But at the very top is something called the selection tool and the direct selection tool. Those are things we might use pretty intensively later on when we're selecting data that we have downloaded in to Map Illustrator and to Map Publisher and Adobe Illustrator. So now there are some other things I want to show you that are specific to Map Publisher. If you look down at the bottom here, this is the Map Publisher toolbar. And again, if you go to Window and go down to Map Publisher, that's where you'll be able to turn things on and off. I have a couple things turned on already. I've got the themes, map views will come up. I want that running, and the toolbar as well. And then some of these other things we'll use later as well. Let me move that artboard back to where it's supposed to be. Some key things to note with regards to Map Publisher is not only this toolbar, but down here you have map themes, and here you have map views. And right now there's nothing in it, but we're going to be using those soon. And we're going to be using the map views and its layers in concert with the layers and properties that are regular Illustrator windows right here. Okay? So now the next thing that I want to do is I want to actually import some data. And to do that in Map Publisher, you go down here. You can do advanced import, but I'm just going to do the basic import first off. And you can select the type of data you want to import. I'm going to import a shapefile, and you'll see many of the file types that we've talked about here are listed, but I'm going to go with that Esri shapefile. And then I'm going to browse for that. And you can see I already have the mapping data up here. But what I want to have specifically is I want to bring in the buildings that I have cropped for the purposes of this. And so let's bring those buildings in here and say open. And it tells me right away what the coordinate system is. That all looks correct. So I'm going to say OK to that. And now the buildings come in. And let me zoom out just a little bit here. And one of the things you'll notice right away is that it brings these data up to the very edge of the artboard. So this is where you want to do that little adjustment. So I'm going to make the artboard a little bit bigger on both sides and down here at the bottom as well. Perfect. Now I'm ready to go. Okay, the next thing that I want to bring in here, well, before I do this, I should say, is this now appears, these buildings now appear in two places, in the map views, and if I click on that right here, you'll see that it's under buildings, and if I double click on that, it will bring up the geographic data about it, the coordinate system. And then there's the layer itself, which is shown as polygons. That sort of red thing shows polygons. It also appears up here under the layers. And you'll be using these layers a lot. If I expand that layers, you'll see that I have all these closed paths here that are the layers. You can also see there's some really important things to sort of note here about how the layers work and its properties work as well. Notably, we can turn these things off and on and select them or deselect them if we want to by clicking over here, or by locking it, we can unselect this whole area. If I now unlock it, I can go back here and click on it, and it will select all of these. So that's, again, a really important thing to know how to do. You can also, by the way, completely turn these off if you want to, so you don't see them, though they'll still be there by clicking on this. But of course, we want this on for the time being right now. So let's bring in some more data. The next thing that I'm going to bring in is I'm going to bring in my own tree data. And so I'm going to go down here, and this is the shapefile that I've created, and browse for it. Go back to the tree campus, and there's my map tree data right there. I'm going to click on that and open it. Now you'll see the coordinate system is different. It's WGS 84. So let's bring that in. And I bring it in, and the tree data is in the wrong place. It's all messed up, and you may be thinking, now I can't use this data. But this is what our map views is for. I can click on that map, that layer that's under tree data, and I can drag it into the building layer right here and drop it, and it completely reprojects it into what I want it to do. I can then go ahead and delete this by highlighting it and clicking the little trash can symbol. And then what I'm going to do here is I want to change the name of it from buildings to tree campus, because now it's going to hold all of the data in the tree campus. And if I click on it, you'll see it's maintained that Alaska State Plains system, which is what I want to have. Okay, then there's one last thing that I want to show you that's sort of cool that you can do. Let's click on that tree data again here. And now I'm going to open another window. I'm going to go down here to the windows, and I'm going to scroll down to Map Publisher, and I'm going to click on Map Attributes. And this generates a big window of data, and let me see if I can get this down to the size that it will fit into the area that I'm looking at. And it shows all of our GIS data right here. It even shows the type of symbol that it uses and all the attributes that I collected here. So this is where Map Publisher turns Adobe Illustrator from just a regular illustrating software, which does some really powerful things, to a GIS tool. I'm going to close that map attribute now. Now we're set up and we're ready to start manipulating it and changing it, but I'm going to stop this video right now with the point where we are.